that what we don't know is not possible, and we take what we know for human nature. Just recently, there was a first conference in Israel last week, first ever historical conference about the sexual violence against Jewish women during the Holocaust. For 70 years, that has been whispered and not studied and not widely admitted. There is an anthology newly out by Sonia Hedgepeth and Rochelle Seidel with many reminiscences, many documented cases within that anthology. And yet, even in the case of Nuremberg, it was not admitted as evidence. It was whispered, but never understood. Now that these stories are beginning to be told, they have made a path out of despair and shame for women who were sexually assaulted in Bosnia, in the Congo, in so many war-torn countries, as we see now. And there has finally, because we've stopped whispering, become, as of last month, a brand new way of documenting sexual abuse, which is crowdsourcing. Thanks to technology, it's possible. So you see how very far we've come, but also how far we have to go. I suppose for us in this room, the most frequent source of whispering is domestic violence. You know, in my country, we looked at the FBI statistics, and we discovered that if you counted from 9/11 to now, that the number of women murdered by their husbands or boyfriends since 9/11 exceeded all of the people killed in 9/11, all of the Americans killed in Afghanistan and Iraq combined. And yet, we somehow treat this as a different form of violence. We imagine that we need more proof, or that it's okay for the victim to be put out of her house and the criminal to stay in the house. And I know that here in this community, we have recently had 2 murder-suicides of exactly this kind. But I think we need to take one more step away from whispering by explaining that this violence is not isolated or discrete, that actually domestic violence perhaps should be called original violence, because it is so much the force that normalizes violence for us in our childhoods, in our lives, that makes us feel that there is no alternative. If we have experienced it, gender roles may make us express it differently as we grow up, and the masculine role may cause us to abuse other people. The feminine role may cause us to continue to be abused, but the fact is that the source is the same. Once I spent a month or 2 reading about the backgrounds of the especially brutal dictators in this world. Saddam Hussein, Ceausescu in Romania, Stalin, Hitler himself. And every single one of them was brutally, systematically, daily humiliated and tortured as a child. And what that does, I think, is to make us feel deeply there are only 2 choices: to be the victim or the victimizer. Yes, gender roles make us choose one or the other, but the source and the problem is truly the same. This is not an excuse for behavior, because so many people are able to recover and dig out this violence. And indeed, only about 30% of people who experience violence in their childhoods repeat it, as far as we know. It is not an excuse, but it is a reason. It is a reason. And we have yet to take it to that level of depth, to see it, I think, as a part of our overall political and social fabric. This also, as far as we know, did not exist in Aboriginal cultures, whether it was here or the Khoi or the San in South Africa or the Dalits in India, because patriarchy did not exist, because it was not matriarchal, which is a misnomer, I think. We can't imagine that someone is not leading, so we imagine that women just